One of the ways SEOs are adapting their strategies with AI is becoming omnipresent. And social media is one of the key parts of that strategy. So I got to sit down with Filipe, who made over $100,000 last year with his focus group directory. We talk about a lot of things, including how he pulled off one of the hardest monetization offers, in my opinion, which is a subscription-based offer, how he posted on social media at first, it completely flopped, but he kept going until he hit a viral post that just exploded his sales. We also talk about social media strategy, imposter syndrome, barriers to entry from a mental perspective when it comes to creating content online, and we also take questions from the audience because this was a live stream and we answer those just throughout the call. He reminded me that social media makes a lot of sense for some niches that are very difficult, very competitive to rank in if you're just looking at it from an SEO perspective. So I think he's a great example of how to grow a personal brand, how to monetize a directory in a hard niche, and how to kind of hedge yourself against AI and this kind of unpredictable nature of search and where that's going with Google AI mode and all that stuff. So with that, I hope you enjoy this conversation and take away some nuggets of knowledge from Filipe. I met Filipe because he's actually in the pro community and he hopped on one of our office hours once and he revealed that he made $100,000 last year after going viral on Instagram. And I just wanted to pick his brain, ask him about this because one of the things that I've been kind of thinking about is Google AI mode, these LLMs. I'm getting a lot of questions around that. I do have some answers as far as how to AI proof your directory and any business online in general. And one of the things that I've been thinking about is omnipresence, which is just being everywhere. Social media is part of that strategy. So there's no better time to talk to someone like Filipe. Yeah, how did you fall into directories?
So I really got started with this whole directory thing as a side hustle. Like I was doing, so my directory is about focus groups where I share nationwide focus groups that are happening so folks can go in and participate and get paid for sharing their opinion. And I got into it by actually doing it myself. I found a problem as I was going through these focus groups where it was really hard to find them, at least the ones that were applicable to me. I would find some random one happening in New York or in Atlanta, but I couldn't participate because I was in Florida. That was the first problem that I ran into when doing this side hustle, is finding these groups. And then once I started to meet people, they had the same problem as well. As I started to do more and more of these groups, I started to validate the companies. I started to find out where they were posting. And I thought, okay, why don't I create something where people can go and find all of these groups? I didn't even know what a directory was, to be quite frank with you. I just thought I was creating maybe a job board for focus groups or whatever it is, which is essentially a directory. Mm-hmm. And that's really how I got started with it. Once I created it, I shared it with some of the folks that were in the focus group community that I knew about, and they loved it. They were like, finally, now I can turn on filters, turn off filters to figure out which group is available for me. They really liked it. I charged a membership for it so they can get access to all these groups. It updates every single day. And so I decided to promote it on social media, share my experience with focus groups, because a lot of people don't know what they are, that you can, make extra money just by giving your opinion to these big companies. And so I wanted to share that experience and that side hustle, because no one is talking about that, but also obviously promote my product. So I started on social media, on Instagram and on TikTok. The first challenge that I did was a $10,000 in 90 days challenge, where I documented my process, every single focus group that I did, where I found them, which obviously was my database. And that one flopped. Okay, I got maybe 200, 300 views per video, which I was like, okay, cool. Some comments, some messages, but no sales. But then I was like, okay, I saw some traction, right? Even though it was 200, 300, something was happening. So I decided to do a year-long challenge where it was $30,000 in a whole year. And then in March of last year, I had a video go viral where I got 1.4 million views, a ton of sales, ton of comments. And I actually got a Business Insider article written about me because of that video. So that was a really cool experience. Got to meet with the reporter. She validated my income. She had me sending so many screenshots of all the groups that I did, because each one is individual payments. So it was a lot to track down, but I sent it over. Yeah, that's really what exploded my membership for the directory. I also have like a course that goes along with the directory itself in case you want to learn more about focus groups and like what it really takes to be consistent with this and like my experience with it. So there's course sales inside that $100,000 number that I gave earlier. Yeah, that was all possible because of social media.
Damn, there's so much good stuff to unpack. You hit on job boards, which, yeah, job boards are low-key one of the goats of directories. I think marketplaces are right there, although they're a little bit harder to build. That's an area where I've been wanting to tap in later down the line because there's some job boards. I have friends who have built job boards and they, for whatever reason, they do really, really well. So you went viral in March, 1.4 million views. The first one flopped. What made you decide to keep going, and what made you decide like, okay, the pivot is just to extend the challenge to a year? Did you have a gut feeling? Like that's the question with social media, because the truth is I don't even know what I'm doing with YouTube. I'm kind of like, I don't look at keyword research or data and be like, oh, people are typing this in. And I looked at those tools before, but I kind of go off vibes at this point and I try to figure out, okay, what would be kind of interesting, what's like being talked about, and then I just kind of make content that way. But how do you approach content, and how did you know that would work based on the low, like 200 to 300 views that you got?
Yeah, great question. I had no idea if it was going to work, to be quite honest with you. But I knew that I knew that the idea worked because I got sales, I got reoccurring subscriptions, and I knew that people were being successful at it as well. Like they were making money, right? You wouldn't renew your membership if you weren't making money from this product that I had. So I knew that I wanted to share it to more people. And to be honest with you, I didn't even know anything about SEO. So that wasn't even like a thing that I considered. It was all about how can I get traffic and how can I get attention? And the only place that I knew that you could get attention was social media. And I also saw during that time, I also saw other people doing challenges of their own, like year-long challenges for different things. One guy does like 1 mile a day. Another person does something else where I saw at that point. And I was like, okay, people are into like the journey side of it, right? To kind of like follow a journey of what this person is doing. So that's when I was like, okay, let me just extend this out for a year. It's also a goal that I had myself to like see how much I can make with focus groups, right? And $30,000, I've never done that before. And so I was like, you know what, let's do it. Let's try it. I didn't know that would work, but I did see others doing similar things and it was working for them. So I figured as long as I keep on putting in the effort, it's going to take off, right? Yeah. Like it might take a year. And that's what a lot of like famous YouTubers tell you as well. Like it might take like your 100th video, your 1,000th video, but once it hits, it hits. Once you find your audience, that's it.
I think that's a great mentality and super necessary in the world of social media. I just wanted to show people your website directory, but this is it. And as you can tell, this is your offer. Yeah. This is a super different offer than what most people do and what I talk about, which is more around like sponsored listings or selling leads or doing passive display ads, which I actually want to ask you about. Because right before this, we were talking about how you just implemented ads. Can you talk about when you implemented this? This looks like AdSense, and I know you confirmed it's AdSense. How's that journey looking like? You hit a small milestone that you shared, so I think it's kind of helpful for people to hear how quickly these things can go.
I decided to try out AdSense or just ads this year. That was one of my goals this year, was to go a little away from the social media traffic and go more into SEO and figure out what keywords I could rank for in this site. And since my directory is under a paywall, Google can't really go in and get all the groups that I have. Mm-hmm. So what I thought of doing was, and you've talked about this a lot, is a pillar page, right? So that page that you were showing before is my pillar page where I update it daily with just a handful of focus groups. So this is completely free. So you can go on this and click on any of the links and it'll take you to the survey where you can fill it out and see if you get in and participate. This page is actually the one that has started to rank on Google and started to bring in some traffic. So I thought, okay, I have traffic. How can I monetize this free traffic, right? I'm getting value. And so ads was the only thing that I could think of. This journey so far with Google AdSense, I'm trying a couple different things with it, turning on some things, turning off some things. So I'm still fairly new at it. But yesterday I hit $27 with ads, which was my biggest day yet. And the traffic was under 500 for yesterday, which was crazy to me. So obviously something is working, right? Like we're building momentum in a positive direction. So I'm definitely going to continue building out this strategy. But also the other big news was that yesterday I also got a couple of sales come in to the membership side. So
Nice.
I'm getting that free traffic, making money through AdSense, but also the membership is still alive and well.
That is really, really solid. Considering you just put in AdSense, that's even a better sign, because I was just telling Felipe there's a ramp up period anytime you put on Mediavine or Google AdSense or Zoic. It takes about a month or two just to see the potential of your AdSense traffic. And sometimes it doesn't even make sense. Like recently I had one of my smaller directories shoot up from like $5 or $7 on a typical day to like $49. And I was like looking at the traffic, it was under 1,000 and it didn't really make sense. The math wasn't mathing. So it's really niche dependent as well. I think the niche you're in, I wouldn't be surprised if advertisers are willing to pay more. Also just looking at some of these keyword difficulties, you're right. This pillar page is ranking for a lot of good keywords and they're super long tail, and you can't mistake the search intent here. Online research studies that pay. I mean, that's pretty much exactly right up your alley. We do have a question here. Matt says, did I see it's on WordPress? I think I did see it on that you built it with WordPress, right?
Yes, it is WordPress.
Awesome. Was this a hard build? Like, did this take a while to build?
I've had this, or I've been at this for about like 3 years. And so it's had like multiple different versions, multiple different iterations, but I kind of like tinkering with things and getting creative and like moving things around. So even though, yes, it was hard, there was a lot of like YouTube videos tutorials that I pulled up and kind of like replicated what they were doing. It was a lot of fun for me.
I kind of want to pick your brain more on social media, because I really do think there's people in this community and just in general who are building niches that might not see that success with SEO. And that might be because they're choosing a harder niche. Like focus groups is a very tough niche if you're just going for SEO distribution. What are the opportunities that you see? Any opportunities with social media and directories?
I think social is important for any small business owner or any website that's out there that you want traffic to your page, to your website. And I think that it's important for everyone to have a social plan, right? Like a content plan, because it is where all the attention is. Everyone spends a crazy amount of time on social media. And so if you want attention, if you want people to go to your page, you need to have a plan for social media, I think. Eventually, I do want this to become a marketplace of sorts where companies come on and find participants, because right now it is a one-weighted marketplace where participants come on and they find focus groups that I put into the site. But eventually I do want it to become more of a marketplace thing. So that's where I would like to see this go. And the only way that I can get there is by having more people, more attention put into this, more traffic, right? And the only way that I can see doing that, even though some SEO traffic is happening, it's very hard to rank for these keywords like you pointed out. And so the only way that I can do this is through social media. And in my niche, there's no one else talking about this at the scale that I am, or getting the views that I am, right? Or the followers that I am either. So for me, it's essential to be on social and to create content for social media.
With that said, you only have 11 index pages and you're ranking for a lot of keywords. I mean, a lot of people think they have to have 5,000, 50,000, somewhere in between that number as far as listings. I think that there is a meta when it comes to small, extremely value-packed pages, because from an SEO perspective too, Google has a crawl budget.
Right.
If you have 50,000 pages, Google's like, wait, seriously, I have to spend these resources really, which costs money to crawl your page. You're a fresh website. I don't even know if I trust you. You have no backlinks. So it's kind of a hard sell. Whereas if you just start with like a low amount of pages, then that could work out well, which is why I talk about just brute forcing like manual WordPress website creation. If you're just starting, just create, 20 pages, super hyper specialized, super specific. You'll start to see that you're ranking for keywords. That's going to give you some momentum. And then, you can kind of go from there. I think you're absolutely right. And focus groups are interesting. I had a friend, I had a coworker who did focus groups like for years, and he was making an extra $400 or $500 a month while working his day job. And I was picking his brain about it. I looked at some of the websites, and a lot of these are legacy companies, really old, really ugly websites. They're not even easy to like sign up for in some cases. Like I remember having a hard time. So I think this is a classic example of something that's kind of dominated by, I don't want to call it old heads, but yeah, just like legacy operators that's ripe for disruption. Have you considered doing AI generated or AI cloned stuff with like HeyGen or like stuff where you basically like clone yourself? Or is the nature of your content, because it's, challenge related, I get that might be really hard to replicate?
I found my success through Instagram. That's where, I went mega viral there. But TikTok is really good for search. I think Instagram is now adapting some of the search that TikTok has been so good at, and obviously YouTube has been so good at. Folks are actually finding my older videos now that I posted years ago on TikTok, and they're getting more likes, they're getting more comments, and that's bringing in some traffic to my page now. TikTok, a lot of times people say that like once you post a video, like a short form video, it like goes away after 24 hours. That might be true with Instagram. You get like that burst of views. But with TikTok, if it's like keyword search and people are actually searching for what you're posting about, it's going to live on for much longer than that. Now, when it comes to like AI generated content, I have thought about it. I have an automation that gets sent out that works with Facebook, where it is all automated and all the groups get posted onto Facebook. So it gets like some traffic there. But when it comes to like AI videos, I've looked at it, I've thought about it, maybe have thought of a way that it could work out for me. But as of right now, I think that I'm just going to stick to me, like, live doing the videos and talking about these things, because I don't think that AI is there just yet. I think that it's impressive where we've gotten, especially with what Google announced last week with their video platform. It's crazy.
Oh my.
But there's still some tells with it. And I've built a brand around being transparent and being real and sharing my experience. So it would feel a little off brand if I come out with an AI avatar and they're just talking about focus groups all day,
100% agree. I still do everything the good old fashioned way. I edit my own videos. I fear that it will come eventually where I'm like forced to do it in a way just to compete, but hopefully not. I just want to keep things simple. Do you have a desire to create more directories, or are you just kind of going, all in on this focus group, building it into a marketplace eventually, and then just going from there?
I think for me, I am very passionate about focus groups. And so I do want to stick with this. It also helps that I have like memberships that are feeding that as well. So it's like a constant loop. Have members, they need more groups. So I need to continuously update and continue to work on this. So there's not a lot of time available to work on other directories, but I have thought about it. I have other interests, like in the food space, which that could be a really cool niche to go down in, especially like hyper localized. I've thought about it. Also, not to get political, but political directories as well. I've thought about it that as well, because it's very hard to find like political jobs. I'm in DC now. So like I've kind of like searched around that and saw some problems there. So I think it's cool to look around in other niches and identify problems and see what other people are facing and see if you could build something around that. That's how I got started with the focus group directory. It was a real problem that people were having and I solved it. So I would definitely like to go into other industries in the future and do the same thing. But for right now, I'm sticking to the focus group directory.
Gotcha. I also just realized when you were talking about that first campaign that flopped, so to say, which arguably it didn't flop because it led to the successful thing, but you had your product offer already at that point. Just the way you were talking about, you were like, oh, I didn't get any sales. That's an interesting sequence of things. So, and out of all the product offerings, you chose arguably one of the hardest ones, which is a subscription model, right? It requires more trust and, it's just overall kind of harder. Usually people like get traffic and then they try to hear real-time feedback and then they take the audience's suggestions and then they go and build a product based on people's problems. But you had this inkling that this would work eventually. So can you walk me through why memberships? Why so early? What gave you that conviction that it would actually even pan out?
Yeah. I think that you should definitely, if you're starting at this, you should definitely validate your idea first and get feedback and see what people are saying with the idea that you have of building. For me, that I essentially did that with a very small group, like focus group participants that I was a part of, like a community of focus group participants. And the first product that I did was actually not a membership. It was a digital product where I created a dashboard or a income tracker, a focus group income tracker, which was a Google Sheet template that I created. It has charts, graphs, and really helps you visualize like your earnings. And I sold that first to that community, and they loved it. They're like, okay, this is great, right? Like this is a tracker that I can use for the rest of time, really, that I'm doing focus groups, and update it and see who's paying me, see who I need to follow up with, et cetera, et cetera. From that success, I was like, okay, I'm onto something. There's definitely a problem that people are facing. They don't know how to track their income. They don't know where to find these groups. And for the new people that are coming into this, they have no idea what groups are. They have no idea anything. So after the income tracker came the the job board directory, because that was the other problem that I wanted to solve. And then I thought of, I can't sell this as a one-time payment. It doesn't make sense. It's going to update every single day. I have to do some manual work. Granted, I have a lot of automations happening in the background to help me get all these groups, because it is hundreds that get posted every single day. But it still is time from me. The only thing that I thought of was, okay, it needs to be a subscription model. And I've played around with the pricing for it a lot. I don't know what I'm doing with pricing. I gotta be honest with you. It's all trial and error and seeing what works, seeing what people respond to, which is another reason why I decided to do this free pillar page to get people into the ecosystem, to eventually upsell them to a paid membership. That's kind of like how it started. I tried it out with a small group of people first. One, identified the problem, then created the product, sold it, validated it, and then just repeated the process. Right now, I'm in a stage where I need to get more people aware of focus groups so then they can buy my product, which is why social media.
I remember when I was talking to the focus group guy that I used to work with, and at least when I also tried to sign up for focus groups, I realized a lot of them, at least for him, was like food related. You know, it's like if Hot Pocket is coming out with a new flavor, it's like you go in and taste it. So that means it's proximity based. I can't go and, qualify for a $500 tasting focus group in Atlanta if I wanted to. I think you should create pillar pages for major cities and test it out. Best focus groups in Atlanta, Georgia, super long tail, maybe even best food focus groups or XYZ, like actual category with the location specific nature of it. I think that might work really well because you've already proven the pillar page works. We have a couple questions. How to validate any directory idea. I do have a process, but I think like if we were to keep it really simple, just like how Filipe joined a community and had some prior interaction with people also in focus groups, he didn't just look it up on Reddit, look it up on the broad internet, right? He went deep. He actually interacted with people. That's actually the quick way to validate. If you want to validate, you want to go immerse yourself into a world and you will get conviction to a point where you can go build an idea. And, Filipe, it's great you talked about that you built a product first and then sold it and then realized like, oh, wait, maybe like I should pivot and do this thing that might be bigger. That's exactly, that's like the journey of a lot of people who look for ideas and need to validate it. You can use data, of course. I talk about that a lot on YouTube using Ahrefs and stuff, but data only tells so much of the story. That's why I combine the data with social listening on Reddit, Google reviews, just anything that I can find where there's discussion being made around that thing. Filipe, your thoughts around validation, any golden nuggets, anything to add?
I think the major thing for me that made me successful is I really dived into the community. Not only did I have people that were doing it, but I also was doing it myself and was running into the same problems. So I think that as long as you're solving a problem, if it's for yourself and then you can branch out and see if other people are having the same problem, then it's a winner for you, right? So I would just say really immerse yourself in whatever topic niche that you're going into and figure out the problems that people are having.
You said something that gave me another thought, which is it's kind of rare to build a directory in something that like you're passionate about or that like really is just about you. Because I do talk about, if you're picking out an idea, I personally like to make sure that the idea is 70% data backed, like the data's there, the search traffic's there, the competitors, not too crazy, and 30% like passion-based, interest-based. But you kind of like scratched your own itch in a way, even though that's kind of like the general advice out there, like, oh, follow your passion, do your thing. It's a lot harder. And I think a lot of the times people fail when they take that route. Kind of an interesting observation. Not really a question, but yeah, I just see a lot of people fail in that sense. Matt also asks, how do you think about trust and getting people to trust your products and pages enough to join and purchase?
Yeah, so trust is key here, right? Because people are giving you money. Not only are they going to your website to get some information, but in my case, for memberships, they need to trust me, which is another reason why social media is such a good avenue for that, because they're seeing my face. I have screenshots of payments. I have other people's testimonials on the page and on Instagram and the other social platforms as well. So that's how I really built that trust, is to show people, not be shy about like what I'm making, what I'm doing, be very transparent, kind of like building in public in a way. And people really gravitate to that. Early on, when I first went viral for that video, people started commenting and saying, oh, you're just selling a course, or you're just selling a membership, or you're just selling whatever. And I really leaned into that. I was like, yes, I am. I'm showing you my experience. I'm documenting it for you here. And I just so happen to have a product that can help you do the same if you want to, right? Not holding a gun to your head, free country, do whatever you want. But if you want, here's a product that I spent hours building. that can save you a lot of time, it's available for you. And people really gravitated towards that too. They were like, yeah, I don't have a problem paying. If you're going to solve a problem for me, I'm in.
100%.
Numbers, are proof enough. So yeah.
Yeah, just like being unwavering with what you're doing and the value that it provides. 100%. Social media is one of those things where I feel like it's a mental game a lot of the time. I don't know how to even phrase this question, but it kind of has to do with why people don't start social media. Everyone sees it. It's like, oh, I'm afraid of what people think. I don't want to put myself out there. Oh, my lighting's bad, X, Y, and Z excuse. But ultimately, it's like some kind of insecurity or like some fear of like, oh, if I publish this thing, it gets 0 views. For you specifically, how did you basically say, fuck it, and just like, I'm just going to make content and like, I don't really care? Was that ever a obstacle for you where the barrier to entry to do social media is like, I don't want people to think I'm a loser. I don't want people to judge me. And if so, how did you kind of overcome that?
Man, I love that question. To be honest with you, I've always struggled with public speaking. I used to be a sales manager at a previous life. And one of the things that you do as a sales manager is you get on calls and you talk about your business and yada, yada. I hated doing that. Hated it. And the only way, and I hate to say this, like not to sound cheesy or anything, but like the only way that I gained my confidence in speaking publicly and sharing my story was through focus groups, because you're on a call with people that you don't even know. They're asking you questions. You have to think on the fly about whatever topic that it is you're talking about and really explain yourself, like explain why you think the way that you do about product that they're showing you, for example. And after doing 500 plus of these groups, it really has built up my confidence to speak publicly and to get out there. I will tell you though, with social media, it is very disheartening, or it can be disheartening when you do work on a video and you post it and you get 5 views, right? It's hard. I'll keep it real with you. In the beginning, I was like, dang, this sucks. And if you go back to like my previous videos, the first ones that I published, I'm not proud of those videos, I think at the time I did my best. But if you look at where my videos are today and where they were before, you can see there's a clear difference in confidence and skill. And you only get that by doing the thing. So you might not have the best equipment. You might not have the best lighting. You might not be confident in front of the camera. There's still days that I'm not confident in front of the camera, and you just have to do it because you get better at it, right? It's cheesy to say that, but you really do. Like you get better at it. You don't get perfect, but you get better at it. And if you're being very analytical with yourself and analytical about your business, because it's essentially a business for me, you have to kind of like track your data and just make small edits here and there. Like, oh, this video performed well. What did I do? What did I say? Was I at a specific area that people really gravitated towards? What do the comments say? What messages did I get after I posted that video? And try to find a common thread. For me, I found that B-roll content and voiceover, so like me filming myself doing something, a task, and then doing a voiceover where I read a script, performs really well for me. And they're easier to make if you think about it, because you don't have to record yourself talking into a camera, memorizing a script. You can really just grab a microphone and read off a script and, just edit it into the B-roll. That has been what's worked really well for me. And I've tried it again after getting a big following on Instagram and doing talking head, and it doesn't perform as well as the B-roll with the voiceover. So, but it could be the opposite for someone else, right? Where I see a lot, people go viral for their talking head content. It really is different amongst accounts, amongst what you're talking about. So you kind of have to like trial and error and figure out what's going to work for you. But once you find something that works, it's really easy to just repeat it over and over and over again to get similar traction.
I love it. I fully agree. All the cliche stuff is right when it comes to content creation. I don't think I've mentioned this, but I've tried YouTube for a solid year, like a very solid year, where I was trying to make it. And that's why I got to like 1,000 subscribers. But at the time I was using these analytic tools and being like, oh, people are typing in like this software called copy.ai. I'm going to make a review around copy.ai. And I didn't care. Like I didn't have any interest in it, but I did it because of the analytics. And the cliche thing is like, make videos around things that you can actually talk about for 6 months or a year, or something that you like, that you can make ongoing content around. And that cliche is 100% true. I'm going to kind of call out the people here. You're clearly here either to learn something new or you're considering doing social media yourself. Are you here because you want to try social media? Or are you here because you just want to kind of like vibe and listen? Maybe you're listening at your 9 to 5 just in the background. But I'm curious, what's stopping you? That's ultimately it, right? Like it's clearly working. It's around. It's never going to go away. Matt Burns, I definitely need to improve my game. Dude, Matt, you got it. I've talked to you enough to know that you got it. I only know YouTube, right? Like, and I don't even know YouTube, but I'm just saying you have a serious opportunity there. Sai, definitely including social around my first directory. So these tips are helpful. Awesome. Ask any questions. I mean, you're basically talking to an expert, and like an expert is a weird word. I don't even like the term when people use it for me, but it's really just someone who went through the failures that you would otherwise need to do and like have some foresight that's going to save you the time and energy to not do that thing. So like that's kind of my definition. So Filipe is right there. I'm in a career transition, been reluctant to post on socials since I'm still searching for full-time employment in the gathering info stage before deciding what to go all in on. Directories is a brand new thing to me and felt like a good first step in building something on the side. Nice. Yeah, I mean, I think as long as you build and keep that momentum going, I mean, that's like the most important part. Whether you are fully employed or you're unemployed, it's like really the momentum that I care most about. At least when I think back to 2 or 3 points in my life where I was either unemployed and like flipping things for garage sales at 6 a.m. or I was like kind of miserable doing my sales job, talking to people I don't care about things that I could care less about selling. I don't know if you have any thoughts there, Filipe, around some of these comments, but.
Well, when it comes to Lindsay's thing here, the only thing that I thought of really is a lot of people are going through job transitions right now. And those videos, especially on TikTok, are very popular. And they're just sharing their experience. They're sharing their journeys, and they don't really have a product to sell. They don't really have a directory to funnel people through. But it's a great way to build an audience and build a personal brand. So if you do come up with a directory in the future or a product or whatever it is, or you find a way to monetize either through affiliate links or whatever it is, there's a lot of different ways that you can monetize when you have an audience on social media. But I would say if you do want to start social media, I would say go for it. Start posting about your journey. It is very relatable because there is a lot of people going through that. Right now, the job market sucks. You can talk about all those different things, especially within your particular niche, if you wanted to start it.
To your point, I watch those videos. It's really just because life is hard. And I think like lately, everyone's a poker face, but like life is really hard in general, whether or not like you have a job or not. It just seems that way. And the kind of like ethos of someone being real and sharing their struggle, whether it's relatable, like specifically about having a job or not, that's what I listen to it for. And I'm like, oh yeah, like I'm not the only one who's like having these intrusive thoughts, right? I totally agree. People think about monetization too early. And to your point, you will have so many opportunities. That will be like a problem, how many opportunities you have to monetize once you have the traffic. Solve the traffic thing, and you won't even have to think about monetization. It will just come to you in a way that's like, shoot, which one do I choose now? And that's your new problem. Another cliche social media thing, but like, yeah, don't worry about making money so quickly, because ironically, you'll probably get there faster if you care less about it and you just care about the authenticity and the value. What I found helpful is the thought of being who I needed when it comes to the journey. Just sharing recent things I've learned. 100%. I like that idea, like being who I needed. I try to put myself in that mindset, but like it's really hard to escape this imposter syndrome that I personally feel sometimes. And actually a lot of my friends feel that in general. Do you ever feel imposter syndrome, Filipe? I'm just curious.
Yes, I do. I think I just have to constantly remind myself that in this particular niche that I'm in, that I've done the work. And what I'm sharing is really about like my journey with it. Yes, I've created products around it, but it's really about like my journey and what I have seen and done and whatever. So I just have to constantly remind myself of that to keep me going. Sometimes I look at my phone and I'm like, whoa, like these messages are crazy. Is this real? Like this is not my account. Like I got hacked or something. And I think it comes a lot with like more confidence. The more you do, the more confident you get. Mm-hmm. I would say too, doing things outside of social media just to improve yourself. like pick up a hobby or do something like that just to boost your confidence. Like I love strength training, and that has worked really well for me as well in the confidence department. It's helped me show up better in everything in my life. Kind of long-winded there, but yeah, that's my thoughts about it.
We were both in sales. If we're not long-winded, then we were probably bad salespeople. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Basically, Filipe is telling you all to go touch some grass. Okay, you hear that? No, I'm just kidding. No, it's a good reminder for me. I need to go and do that too. Matt, exactly being human will be highly valuable over the coming years. You don't get imposter syndrome if you're not trying to achieve greatness. 100%. I actually just thought about this. AI proofing your focus group directory, your focus group business in general. How are you thinking about it? Are you concerned?
Yeah, AI is interesting because especially, so I watched the whole Google I/O that happened last week, and their whole I/O was about AI, AI, AI.
Mm-hmm.
And cool, like the tech nerd inside of me thinks this is all super cool, and I definitely want to play around with everything that's coming out. But the other side of me is thinking, how is this going to impact my business? And SEO is the first thing that comes to mind, right? Which for me, SEO is not a big part of my business. I do want to make it a big part of my business, so there is that. But from what I've seen so far, I'm not concerned with it because AI does like you can ask ChatGPT, hey, what are some focus group websites, or what is a focus group? And it can tell you what a focus group is. But the same problem that I ran into and hundreds and thousands of other people have run into, which is finding focus groups on a consistent basis that actually apply to you, ChatGPT is nowhere near finding that. First, because they're just not on Google, and that's where it's getting a lot of its information from. And for me, I don't think that it's a problem as of now, but it is something that's always in the back of my head, how I can implement it, how I can learn more about it to either implement it or just be aware of changes that are happening. So that way I can adapt. I do use AI in my business now. It does a lot of the, editing titles for focus group descriptions. So it's already baked in to my directory in a way, but I don't see it as a big threat, I would say.
I would agree. I think that's a really good take. You know, we were talking about like omnipresence. Another thing that I think is pretty AI proof is specialized data that's especially like paywalled or something that LLMs can't crawl and index. But you have social media, so yeah, SEO is not really an integral part of your business running. So yeah, 100%. Jackie, you said I could care less about SEO. Google sucks now, and there are so many other traffic sources. I think a lot of people are in that same boat. You know, a lot of people are not happy with Google and search right now. I think it depends, right? SEO is like a really broad category, but for certain things, you know, SEO is still awesome. For a lot of other things, it's not great.
The one thing that I'll add about Google and social media is that once you start creating videos on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, all of these have the potential to show up on social media for those search terms, which is great because it gives more eyeballs to your content. And honestly, I think that's why my TikTok, some old videos on TikTok are taking off because people are searching more about this particular thing that I talked about on that video, and it's showing up, right? Not only on the search, like the TikTok search or the YouTube search, but also on Google search as well. Because that's Google's mission. It is to organize information no matter where it's coming from, and they're going to serve it. And I think they have a tab now for videos specifically. And I think that's going to become more and more important as AI continues to get better and better and better at like summarizing content or creating written content, etc. If there's a video with an actual human, not an AI generated human, which you can tell really quickly if it is, then I think people are going to gravitate more towards that content and more towards you if you happen to be that person.
Reddit, Instagram, X, I see it all the time on the actual Google search results page. Yeah, really good point. Jackie said, I now do keyword research to see if there is demand, but I will be driving traffic via Pinterest, Instagram, YouTube as my niche is visual. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Pinterest, there's some people who are crushing it with Pinterest. I don't know enough about it. I just know that there are some absolute killers out there for Pinterest, and it's driving kind of a dumb amount of traffic, like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. But again, I'm kind of a noob in that sense. You have to validate the niche. Absolutely. But I'm sure I will get more traffic from visual social media platforms than Google.
I definitely agree with that. And bringing my sister back into this example, since she sells products that are handmade, she has her own social media account, and one of her videos went viral. I guess it runs in the family here. But and she got an insane amount of orders, insane amount of traffic while that video was popping off. So for product-based like businesses, directories, I guess, maybe, or marketplaces is what Jackie's really seems like to me what she wants to create. I think that if you have these business owners showing off their product through like your account, right? I think that could be a really interesting play where you're constantly showing new content of new products that are being created, and you're helping them disperse their products around the internet, and you're getting traffic to your directory, to your marketplace, where they all are, right? So I think that's a pretty interesting idea. I would just ask, what makes you different, or this idea that you have different than what Etsy does? And I think that once you figure that out, then you can have a winner.
Filipe, would you recommend focusing on one social media platform or try to be consistent on a few?
If I was starting over again, I would focus on one social media platform, especially if you're going to be doing daily content, weekly content. You should focus on one, get really good at it. And down the line, once you have traffic, once you have following, etc., then you can try to go into another social media platform. The great thing about like a short form video platform like TikTok and Instagram and Shorts is that you can eventually repurpose all of them to all those places. Even Pinterest. Pinterest does video. So you can repurpose all of your content through all those platforms. But I would focus on one, get really good at it, and kind of go from there.
100% agree. I'm pretty much not even doing, I probably should do YouTube Shorts, but I'm only doing YouTube long form and X. I have no desire to go to Instagram right now, but in the future, I do want to eventually kind of be everywhere. But it's, I feel like I'm still learning and like trying to get that down. So I will say, I feel like YouTube has the best way to get people to leave YouTube. If that makes sense. Like if you build a TikTok audience, like it's harder to get them to YouTube or like X and stuff. Whereas like for some reason with YouTube, especially YouTube long form, I'll say it's easier to get people like to click somewhere else. And that's what I've heard. And I guess I kind of experienced that too.
I think the great thing about YouTube is that it is long form content. And so you are building that relationship with your community a lot faster than if you're doing short form video content. They would have to watch 50 videos of yours to get to know you better. And they can just watch one video of yours and really know you and what you're about. So that's the power of YouTube. Also, search is great. And the description with the link, like you said, it is easier for someone to click on it and go to it. However, I will say, in my opinion, from having done all three of them, is Instagram is actually the easiest one to get someone to click on your link, because they have a platform called, or not, it's not owned by Instagram, but there's a platform called ManyChat, where I'm sure you've seen the videos. A creator goes on, does a video and says, comment the word pasta and I'll send you the link. And they comment the word, you comment back automatically. It's a robot, right? Like you set the replies that you wanted to say, and then they get a DM with a link. And that converts like crazy. That video that went mega viral for me was with a ManyChat automation. So that one video has over 35,000 comments of people asking for the link. And that's how I got them all over to my website. So I will say YouTube is great, absolutely. And for the long term, there's nothing better than YouTube. YouTube is king, in my opinion. But when it comes to getting people immediately over to a different place, whether you're selling a product or going to your directory, Instagram is pretty clutch if you're using that ManyChat automation.
Damn, I need to check that out. Filipe, any advice or strategy for how to determine what specific social platforms to lean into for your audience?
Yeah, I think you have to get a better idea of who your audience is. So TikTok skews a little bit younger. So if whatever directory or product or that you're building is for a younger crowd, then maybe TikTok is the one. TikTok also has better search, so it could help you with your SEO rankings as well. Like I said before, YouTube is king, but you do have to create long form content. It doesn't have to be polished long form content. There's a lot of YouTubers that have increased their audience sizes dramatically by just recording on their webcam. As long as you have value to give or you're showing people something valuable, then you can grow. So don't think that YouTube is like this out of reach thing where it needs to be polished and perfect. And then Instagram, I think Instagram is overall a catch-all because they have really good, again, automation, like I said, But then the DMs are awesome too, because you can really build community through the DMs. That's Instagram's like second or first most used feature is their actual DMs. So find your audience, figure out who they are, and then next figure out if you're going for that search, like those keywords, you're answering specific questions that your directory solves, or if it's a little bit more general, and then you can kind of pick your platform there.
I'm so curious about Instagram now. I'm going to have to play around with that. Where could people find you? Where could people support you? This is super valuable, so I want people to know.
Yeah. So on all social platforms, I am One Click Hustle. That's also my website, oneclickhustle.com. So if you're interested in focus groups, you want to learn more, check it out. Go to the free version where you can sign up for some and see if you qualify, get the hang of it. Ask questions as well. Again, Instagram is great for DMs. I'm also here on this platform, so you can definitely get in my DMs, ask questions, and yeah, reach out.
If you made it this far, then I appreciate you watching. Make sure to go and support Filipe. He's a super friendly person and he's super open to having conversations if you want to DM him through our community. So with that, I appreciate you watching. Always grateful for your support, and I'll catch you in another video. See ya.